I knew the kid. He was
Okay.
he was working very hard. He was on his seventh
Nice.
deal.
Oh shit.
I was gonna co-sign on his first flip, but I'm very transparent with him. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna co-sign, need a piece of the profits, but he was able to raise the 60K.
Okay.
There's no reason for me to co-sign if you can raise the 60K.
Right.
Right. This was a situation where he couldn't raise more money, so he had to use his own. I was like, okay, I will co-sign because it'll help you.
Right.
But I ran the numbers on my own. I was like, okay, this is a great deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's really no risk at it. Worst case scenario, I take it over, I fix it up, and I sell it, we make a profit. Right. So I just can't really see a lose-lose situation. It's always a win-win situation.
Right. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks. And this guest, actually, I've been having him on social media for a while when I first got in the industry. And one of the best things I like about this industry is you get to see everybody grow together. And it's been pretty cool to see his journey to where he's at today, from obviously being an agent. Now he's transitioned to being an investor full time. So it's really cool to have this guest, and I'm really proud to introduce Aram. Thank you so much for coming, man.
Appreciate you said my name beautifully.
There you go, bro. That's the
That's
little
that
Latino
Latin twang on that. Yeah, and you said cafecito perfectly too.
There you
very
go,
nice,
bro.
very nice. Thank you for the intro, brother.
No, of course. Thank you so much for coming, bro. And like I said, bro, honestly, I think that's my favorite part about this career.
Yeah.
Is that like you start in the industry and then 3 years goes by, feels fast as fuck. I don't even know what the hell happened yesterday. It's like
that,
the
bro.
quickest thing, time,
Yeah.
most valuable thing you could have. But you know, you look at it right now, and I have seen you since you were an agent full time. You had people on your team, and now you are full time investor. So just give everyone your story on how you got to where you're at, and
Perfect.
sure, people would love to hear it.
You want the long one or the short one?
So whatever you.
I'll
feel,
do somewhere
bro.
in the middle.
All right, there you go.
All right. So I've been in real estate for about 9 years. My 9th year started March 2nd. So this is technically the 9th year, 8 years total,
there
right?
You go. Congrats.
My whole goals, I started at 21, is I just wanted to be rich, and all the rich people own businesses and invest in real estate.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll just go straight to the real estate. That seems like a great plan, right? But I didn't know anything, didn't know how to start a business. But I found out being a realtor, it's very similar to being a loan officer. Loan officer is a bit more difficult, but we just got to get a real estate license.
Right.
And you can make a few $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'm going to make 300 my first year. Didn't work out that way. So,
How much you make your first year?
bro, I think gross commission was like 46K. I did like 1.7 in production.
Yeah.
But the problem was my brokerage was taking 56% of that.
Yeah,
Criminals,
that's
by
up.
the
Yeah,
way.
that's it.
Berkshire Hathaway, I'm looking right at you. Scumbag. I'm just kidding. They did teach me a lot, but 56 is steep. So I moved over to Remax after that. I think like every year I made more money. It's just like more money from 21,000 is really not that significant. I think it was like 28 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Year 5 is when things started to work out for me, where I actually had I made like 140, and I had an opportunity to step back and be like, okay, now we can look into investing, because that was the whole play. Be done within 10 years and be a full-time investor, right? And then as soon as I started asking myself that question, I started looking for a flip. It took me 9 months to find my first one, only because I didn't know what I was looking for. Like, it had to be perfect, right? Fuck, the money I lost by waiting for the perfect deal, bro.
Right.
And I did the first one in Elk Grove. It was literally 4 minutes down from my condo. I was like, oh, I know this area. Worst case scenario, I'll move in, right? So I had all my bases covered. Did the flip, hated the whole process. I'm like, this is exhausting. This is stressful. All this, and after paying off investors, I made like 20K. I'm like, I could just sell like 4 houses, call it a day. And then I transitioned to just buying 2 apartment buildings, because I was gonna go down the commercial route.
Right.
Then I learned like you really need a lot of money to do that. The problem is I could raise it, but if I didn't have the money, the banks wouldn't lend to me anymore. Starting in 23. So that put that business on hold, and I was just sick of being an agent, man. And then one of my mailers hit. I found a flip that was made me about 60,000. I looked at how much work I did to make 60K versus what I'd have to do as a realtor. I was like, this is the way. And then I doubled down, tripled down, and we did 2 in 23. We did 10 in 24. This year we're on track for 30. I've already done like 8 houses.
And I love your journey, because I think I saw a video of you when you first started in the industry. You were like the definition of that Cinderella, where they put the fucking glasses on and then they take it off.
I was ugly too back then.
And then all of a sudden you like glow up, you get the beard, you get this. Now all of a sudden you're killing it in the real estate game. So it's cool to see the transition and how much you've grown, and you could see how much confidence you built over time.
Yeah.
What stemmed from that? How did you build the confidence? How did you get to where you're at right now?
I think just accomplishments, bro. As you do better, you start believing yourself a little bit more and more every day. And then after you get to a point, you're like, damn, I did that shit.
Yeah.
I'm proud of me. We did that shit, right? Because I was there in the beginning, obviously, and anyone could go back and just go latest videos on YouTube, and you'll see some horrible content. Okay, horrible content. I still got views, thank God.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like year over year, as I did better, I started believing in myself more, and then you just kind of grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would 100% agree. I think that the reason why I respect your story so much is because that was me. Like, when I was transitioning into this, like, you know, you do videos, you do the cringy fucking whatever TikTok or whatever trends, all this stuff. And then you eventually transition to where you actually want to be and you have the confidence of building more content and actually being able to help people around you to be able to grow and scale your business. But I think that one thing I love about it is that you're helping average people who really want to get into real estate investing able to do the things that we feel as if are so far. We were just talking about 15 grand. Like, I was like, 15 grand to do a flip. I'm like thinking, okay, you need at least 30 to 50 grand to do a flip. You're like, nah, you can do 15 easy. So
easy, yeah.
I guess for the average person to get into real estate, what do you think the first step should be to be able to get into real estate investing, and how should they approach it?
First step always got to be education, right? If you don't know what a good deal is, you can't spot a good deal, right? If you don't know how to find a good deal, you're never going to get to one, right? And everything starts and ends with having a deal that has margin, low risk, and is very easy to explain to people, right? So if I know how to do the right marketing strategies to get the right flips, and I know how to run my numbers accordingly, all that means I know how to explain to another person why this is a good deal, right? And then that's what then you go and raise capital and you do the deal. It's quite literally that simple. So a lot of people don't know what they're looking for. So they go on the MLS, they're about to buy a deal that makes no money. They don't know how financing works in this industry. And they just, I've had a few people. I'm like, oh,
hey, slow down.
Why are you buying that?
Yeah.
You're going to make $8,000.
Yeah.
Just go get a job.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I can make that driving Uber in 2 months. Why are you struggling? It'll take you 4 months to do this project.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it all starts with education. And after education is the people you know. Right? Because you can have all the education, right? But if you can't raise money, that deal is useless to you. If you can't find an investor to buy that deal is useless to you, right? Or if you have, just having connections will save you so much headache.
Okay.
For example, I just had one of my students. He finds a great deal. It makes about $49,000 profit, right? If I was to take it on and do it. But if he did it with all his expenses and how much he'd have to put down, he'd make about $40,000, and he'd have to put about $60K down, right? Because if you don't have any experience, you're putting 25% down with hard money lending. And you're paying more points, more fees, junk shit, your title fees are high, etc.
Right.
But because he knows me, I co-sign on the note. Then he only put 10% down.
Right.
His title fees are lower because I do more volume, so I get a lot of discounts with title, right? On the low.
Right.
Oops.
Right. Shouldn't say that. But.
My lenders, they know me. We're doing a lot of volume, so I'm only paying like a point when I'm doing a hard money note, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And like no junk fees.
Yeah.
That alone saves him like $6 grand.
Right.
So the people you know, but it all starts with education. Because if he didn't find that good deal, there's no way in hell I'm co-signing anything.
100%. 100%. And I think, I mean, first and foremost, how did you get the stomach to take the risk of students? Because obviously, it's one thing you do it yourself, right? Like, you're like, I know my capabilities. I know how I'm a manager. I know how I'm going to do it. What gave you the comfort level and the stomach to be able to be like, I'm going to co-sign for this person that maybe you don't really know, you know? Like,
Well, that specific, I knew the kid. He was working very hard. He was on his like his seventh deal.
Oh,
I was gonna co-sign on his first flip, but I'm very transparent with him. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna co-sign, need a piece of the profits, but he was able to raise the $60K. There's no reason for me to co-sign if you can raise the $60K. Right. This was a situation where he couldn't raise more money, so he had to use his own. I was like, okay, I will co-sign because it'll help you. But I ran the numbers on my own. I was like, okay, this is a great deal. There's really no risk at it. Worst case scenario, I take it over, I fix it up, and I sell it, we make a profit. Right. So I just can't really see a lose-lose situation. It's always a win-win situation. But how I took on students in the beginning is I just charged what I knew, basically. Like, I know I can help somebody, save at least a few mistakes. And then as I grew, the program grew.
Well, I think one of the main things that I think it's really important for everyday people to kind of see and hear when you're growing, expanding, and just really making sure that your business grows and expands is the fact and understanding why you do it every day. So was there something or an experience within your own life that drove you every single day that kind of makes you, obviously, you want to be rich, but I think that in order for you to continue to be successful and wake up every single day, some people might do 10 flips and be like, all right, time to go to Bahamas. But I mean, obviously you're still driven, motivated to continue to go and help people and help yourself. What drives you? What gets you waking up every single day?
Primary reason is my family.
Nice.
I'm raised by a single mom, so it's important that she's taken care of. So I got to make a lot of money to take care of her, my future wife, and my kids. Right? That's primary reason one. Second of all, I got expensive taste.
Yeah.
I like good food. I like nice cars. I like nice watches.
Yeah.
All that requires a lot of money, right? And then I would say, thirdly, I'm very competitive. So it's like, okay, if I'm making $300K a year, right? The minute I see someone making 500, I'm like, I know I could do that.
Yeah.
I know I could do that. He's not special. I could do it. So if I know I can do it, it bothers me inside.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember when I was coming up as a realtor, like 5 years, 5th year-ish, 6 years, I saw people getting successful way sooner than me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I'm more talented.
I know.
I know that. Like natural raw talent, I have it, but they worked harder than me.
Yeah.
Right? And that was bothering me to the core.
Yeah.
But when I doubled down and started actually working, I was like, we back.
You know, I 100% agree. I think when I first initially got in this industry, and I tell people this all the time, I think this industry, one of the main flaws of it is that a lot of people, when you first get in, they kind of make you feel discouraged in a way.
Yes.
Depending on who you are, whatever, what's your personality type. For me personally, like you said, I'm very competitive, so I don't get discouraged by it, but I can understand why someone new getting into the industry may get discouraged because they get this feel where like I'm the best person in the world, chest up, you know, and you know, and you start looking back, you're like, okay, the guy was doing maybe 20 million volume, great, still amazing living.
But I'm on his ass
now.
right?
But now, guess what? You're gonna be looking at me even behind because I'm gonna be in front of you, you know. And that was always my mentality when I get in. Is like, there's nothing special about people who are very successful, even people who are millionaires, billionaires, like. You hear their interviews because I listen to that shit all the time. One thing that I tell people all the time is I listen to that one kid, the Hard Knocks School of Hard Knocks. He interviews those billionaires.
I love that guy.
Bro, that guy's freaking great. He just goes up to people, random dude driving a Ferrari, like, hey, just start
and don't say the same shit because it's the same shit.
That's exactly what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But the one thing I love about it is they talk about millions, and it makes a couple like 20 grand, 100 grand sound small, even though it's a lot of money. Yeah. It makes it sound so small that I'm like, oh shit, I can make it to the fucking moon. Like these people are doing
like a big deal anymore, right?
A couple million, and then so now you're like, when you kind of take away that feeling and that level of like, oh my gosh, it's $1 million. When you take that feeling away, it's almost like it seems achievable. And I think that's what people really have to understand. That when you are going through your journey, you have to understand that everything is about perspective.
That's facts.
The better perspective that you have and the way that you can make your mind feel as if it's attainable, there ain't nothing that's going to stop you from obtaining the things that you want in life. So my question to you, though, is like, when you were kind of going through the journey, I know that there is a period of time where a big fake it till you make it moment, like you're like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe you haven't done a flip, but it kind of perceives like you've done 10.
Right.
What, like, did you have the idea that you were going to be able to do this amount of flips, or was it more of those things you just kind of going with the flow, whatever happened?
Going with the flow. Now I know. Right. Now I'm a lot more confident. Is maybe even like a year ago I was like 10 flips.
Yeah. Fuck.
10 flips is crazy, man. That's like one almost every month, right? And then around May, I think I'd only had done like one. Yeah. I'm like, dude, 6 months into the year, I've only done one. Granted, made 120K, but only one. I'm 9 away, right? And we end up getting all 9 before the end of the year. So, and I just, you know what? Business, you know, it's been compounding, right? The work I was putting in, the money I was spending the first 6 months, I just didn't see the results till the second 6 months, right? And when I got started, it was a lot of just like, all right, we're going to wing it. Like, we're going to not necessarily fake it till I make it, but like, I don't really know what's going on here. Right. And then as you accomplish, like, let's say once I start making 100,000 a year, right, consistently. First year, I had so many doubts. I'm like, all right, I got lucky. Right. Second year, I'm like, okay, I might belong here. This is okay. Okay, 100 we could definitely do, right? Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, let's go for 200. And then I got to 200 a couple of times. I'm like, okay, I feel better now. Now. Like, can we go for 4? Yeah. Like, when I started this year, just show you how, like, new everything is to me, right? I always say I'm new money. Yeah. Like, I'm brand new money, okay? When the year started, my goal is to make 400,000. Yeah. Right? If I can net and not social media numbers, like, in my pocket, in my bank account, $400,000, right? I would be over the moon because last year we made like 314. Just push it a little bit, right? Yeah. I mean, just the deals I have in the pipeline now will pay me that. Right. So I'm like, maybe I could do 8. Right. Now it doesn't feel any special because now I'm not really counting the money as much as I'm counting the deals. Right. I'm only 30 deals away. If I'm buying 2-3 houses a month, which I am, I should have no problems hitting that.
And you know what's funny enough is like when you do that, you kind of figure out that secret rhythm, secret sauce, what you can kind of say, what you know what you got to do to make the money. Yeah. But now it's just recreating and redoing it every single day. But what's special, I'm assuming about you and everybody else that's successful in the industry, is that you want to grow, you want to expand.
Yeah.
So do you see like yourself getting into more bigger projects, bigger real estate development, maybe commercial buildings? What is it, the future that kind of looks like for your development?
It's a great question. So I always, once I do something, I'm bored of it now.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
I don't want to flip like this way. So the goal is to hit 30 houses, right?
Yeah.
I've done the math in my head that after 30 houses, doing 50 doesn't really increase my income as much based on the effort that I have to put into it, right? So I realized it's not the best vehicle. If I want to make $5 million a year, I really can't do it flipping.
Right.
1 to 1.5, I could do that flipping, right? But it's a lot of work.
Right.
So I'm already like thinking about different avenues where I could put in the same input but get a much greater output. So as you know, I have 2 apartment buildings. They're both for sale, $1 million a piece. Anybody's want.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get a few offers to them, so I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So I'm selling those. I'm taking all the proceeds. I'm looking to buy a retail center, right? I'm scared to death, bro. I don't know how to run numbers on this. I don't know what I'm doing, right? That's why I'm using my own money, not like investor money, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of investors are like, no. I don't want you to learn on your dime and then give me like the crumbs at the end. I want to be in on the risk, right?
Right.
I was like, no. I'm going to learn. If this works out, I'm keeping 100% of these profits, right?
Right.
So we're going to figure that out. If it works, great. If not, go back to flipping, get the 400 back, and rinse repeat, right? So yeah, we're gonna do that, and we'll see what happens. I really didn't even think I was ever gonna do 30 flips.
Yeah.
You talked to me last year. I was gonna 10 flips was a perfect number for me, right?
Yeah.
And then I met a couple of people who were doing like 30, and they checked me. They're like, dude, are you crazy? 10 flips? Why you think it's so small? I'm like, dude, 10 flips is a lot. You know, to do 30, like I need to have this and this and that, and then he just kept checking me. I was like, no.
Well, I think a misconception though is too, like, on the outside looking in, when you're looking at an investor that's flipping a home, it's like you get the deal. Once you get the deal, obviously you got to find the right contractors and people that are going to be able to get you a reasonable price for you to make a profit. But after these two things are done, what work needs to be done? I know there's a lot of work, obviously, allowing it, but is it a lot more babysitting? Is it a lot more, like, what is it that requires the amount of work when you have multiple projects going along?
That's a great question. So the way you build your business when doing 3 flips is a lot different when you're doing 30, right? When I'm doing 3 flips a year, I'm very hands-on. Like, I could do anything. I could buy the appliances, deliver the cabinets. I could do all that, right? At 30 flips, I wouldn't have time to do 30 flips because I'd be busy delivering cabinets or showing up for appliances, things like that, right? So I'm a big fan of sharing the pie, right?
Me too, yeah.
So I love giving other people opportunities to come in and make money. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to do what I'm good at. You do what you're good at. So I partner with my GC, and I've worked with only one GC my entire life.
Nice.
So I don't even know what I would even do if I called a new contractor, right? So he did all my flips, and I was recognizing, I'm like, okay, we're doing a lot of deals this year. I want to bring him on as a partner because as a partner, we could grow so much faster, right? And for me to do this level of volume, I need to lower my costs. So I brought him in as a partner, bring my construction costs down like 20%. That allows me to say yes to more deals, right? So the way my business is set up is I barely work if I don't want to, and I still do the deals, right? My job is to spend all the money on marketing, all the time, effort, and energy, and experience and knowledge I have to secure the deal, raise the capital, lock it down, and as soon as we close, I give the keys to my contractor, and I'm out the way, bro. I haven't seen 5 of my houses. I don't need to. I trust him. His money's involved too. Right. So he does all the construction. I do not get in his way, right? If he needs my opinion on something, I'm happy to give it. But like, do your job, I'm gonna do my job. Right. And that allows me to actually do these deals without having to rip my hair off.
100%.
So I've seen a few people are like babysitting the contractor, like they're trying to save every little penny. I'm like, yeah, if you're doing 3 flips, you should save every penny, right? But I'm doing 40. Do I give a damn that one job made 40 instead of 45? No, I have 30 of these.
Right.
I'll make it back on the next one. Right. So that's how mine is set up. And I recommend other people do the same as you grow.
Well, I think one thing, a quote that I heard, is I'd rather take a bite out of a watermelon than to have a grape, and that's so true, bro. Like, you sometimes people are like, oh, I want it all, I want everything, and then at some point in time, like, the pie is big enough for everybody to share, but unfortunately, a lot of times you want it all. And again, in a flip, your first one especially is probably your baby. You're probably like you're babysitting it. You want to make the most amount of money. But for me, right, like I'll kind of talk for an average consumer, average person that works a job that I'm a mortgage lender, right? So I got my work. It's not 9 to 5. It's whenever 24/7. Let's just
say. 24/7. Yeah.
But for me, like the whole reason why I never flipped was because of that. I don't want to have, bro. If I have to look at some shit, bro, time is money, bro. I'm not about to go drive up wherever my fucking flip is, wherever the good deal is. I'm not going over there check and see if you're doing your fucking job, because I know I gotta do my job. So that was the one thing about flips for me that always scared the shit out of me. And I was like, you know, I feel like the average consumer could feel the same way. So if you are an average consumer that's looking to do a flip for the first time, obviously, you being a resource, that could be one outlet, right? Going to you and utilize your team. But do you feel as if anybody could just partner up with a GC and get that same experience? Or how do you feel as if for an average consumer to do so?
That's a great question. So I'm going to piggyback what I said earlier, when it all starts with education and finding the deal, right? And then the next thing was the people you know, right? So if you're educating, you find a good deal that has good margin. Like, you're going to make $60,000, right? Then you can afford to hire that contractor that charges a little bit more, but he's very professional. Everything gets done on time. He'll order the cabinets. He'll do everything. Like, yes, the rehab will be like $65K instead of $45K. Right. But there's so much room on the deal that you don't really care. It's saving you so much time, right? Because if in the meantime you could do like 4 or 5 loans, it's all the same money at the end of the day, right? So it all starts with the deal. Once you have a deal, it comes with the connections. Now you can have a strategic partnership where you go to a GC, listen, I found a deal. We can chop it 50-50. You take care of the labor, right? Anybody could do that. What you also could do is find someone who's actively already flipping and piggyback off their track record, right? So like for like whatever market you're in, like if you find someone like me, like if you find a deal that makes $60K, right? Well, that deal makes you $60K, probably makes me $80K, right? So I could still afford to pay you a good amount of money, and I could still make my good amount of money, right? So you bring in somebody like me who already has the team, who has his cost down low, and he's doing mad volume. And it's a lot easier for you to start. You don't even have to do anything. You don't even need money. Right. I've had a few students just send the deal my way, and I give them the profits on the back end, right? So if you know someone that's flipping, that's really the cheat code, right? You could build like 2-3 of those. Like, let's say you're getting 20-30K payouts, but you don't actually own anything. You didn't put your money into it, but you're on the deed. Now you have all the money, but now you're gaining experience. So now you don't really need that much money to do your own flip. And you've kind of seen things happen behind the scenes. Off you go.
And I think one of the main things that people also need to understand, though, this is really important about flips, is that when you're flipping a house, it's not like you buy the deal, you wait a week, and then you flip it back on the market and then you sell it, right? Like, I think that'd be a great fucking living. But I think people needed to kind of see that what is an average, like a great flip, and then a shit show flip that you're like, oh shit, this one like kind of was a fucking nightmare.
So my average flip is about 3 to 4 months. If we have delays, it's usually because we got caught working without permits, which I would never do. Or like it didn't sell on time, right? Like the first week on the market, like the buyers backed out like 30 days in. Like those are the only things that really cause me delays at this point, because I don't really buy the big projects. All these surprises and nightmares are in the big projects, when these shitty houses that you need the Lord's help to fix up, right? I'm buying things where it's wax on, wax off. New floors. A little bit of drywall repair, new cabinets, new bathrooms, we're back up, right? So that doesn't take a lot of time out of anybody's day. Now, flipping in as a general does take a lot of time and a lot of money, and there's a lot of money in circulation. So you're not gonna get paid for at least 3 months. Like that's a quick deal. On average, you should plan for 4 to 6 months on a flip. 4 to 6 months, yeah.
That makes sense. And then I guess when you're doing this 4 to 6 months, like, how do you prep your students like during this process? Obviously they're investing their money, and like, have you ever had someone that's like, you know, freaking the fuck out about the fucking deal because they haven't got their fucking money back because they're just like they really invested it? How do you deal with that shit?
I haven't yet, because a lot of times I teach them to raise capital and do with other people's money, right? So it's not like their money's really in jeopardy. What do you mean by that? How do you basically, let's say I bought a deal. Let's say I have a deal that needs $200,000 to purchase and $50K to rehab, right? Well, that means I need $250,000. There's people out here that have 100, 150, or even 50 sitting in a bank account doing nothing, making them $0, right? So I reach out to them, usually W-2 workers, by the way, because they don't really have the time to build a side hustle, right? So if you have all this money that you got from bonuses or whatever sitting, making you, what are they paying you, 4% in a money market account? That's not a lot, right? Or you could put it into a real estate asset that I will explain in a way is very low risk, right? And I pay 12% annually on that money. Now, when you start, you may have to do profit share, so they're going to get probably like 20-30% on their money back, right? That is way better than anything else. But once you have experience, the risk goes down, so now I can only pay 12% annually, like just like a loan would be, right? So you're making 12% on your money versus 4% on your money. And anyone that's interested, they invest. It's really simple.
Okay. And I guess now the next steps is expanding on your business and growing and doing the flips and things that you're doing 30 flips a year, when you first hit $100,000, first and foremost, like, did you have checkpoint milestones like 50,000, 100,000, 200,000? Obviously, you said.
Yeah.
How was it when you first had 6 figures in your bank account, like ready to fucking go?
That's the crazy part. I've never had 6 figures in my bank account.
Okay.
I always spent it.
Oh, so the 300 grand is the net what you're making at the end of the year, or
at the end of the year? Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not 314.
314.
I work hard for the extra 14.
Yeah.
No. So every time, our business is very capital intensive, right?
Yeah.
So like I say, you could raise capital and do without any of your money. At 3 to 5 flips, it's not really stressful. At 30 flips, imagine if I'm raising capital, I got to pay these investors on a monthly basis, right? So if I have loans, I got to pay those on a monthly basis. So right now I have about, I want to say 10,000 plus in just carrying costs for loans every month. $5,000 I spend on marketing, and we spending $20,000-$30,000 a month on rehabs over and over again. So there's really no chance for money to even stay in my bank account. It comes in, it goes right back out, right? And I think that's what I didn't know about this business. That kind of started pissing me off.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I making all this money?
And
I can't find it.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on, right? Like, I live good and all, but I'm like, where is my money?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, I always like to tuck like $10K out of every check, just put it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I got rainy day money, but I have never seen $100K in a bank account that's all mine.
Which is actually probably a good thing, bro. Because, I mean, honestly, like you say, if you're keeping $100,000 in your bank account, $150,000, whatever it is, it's like, it's not doing much for you. So it's like, you got to put your money in something to be able to generate more money for you, which for the average American, it's probably best to put it something that might be safe, because over time, it'll just be compounding, and, you'll live a good life. You'll be 40, 50 years old, retire like the average American, and you're good. That's an average lifestyle. Me personally, like, I'm very much so like you, very driven, very like, I need it. I just can't. Dude, I see the market going down. I think 2 days ago, I hit up my boys, my financial advisor. Where should I dump money? Should I dump here? Should I do this? Like, and you just get this motion to be able to keep moving, keep driving, keep going. And that's what's gonna make people be successful. It's
risk tolerance, bro.
Right.
That's it.
Right. We're young, bro. So that's the thing that you could do. And
how old are you?
25. Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 29, bro.
Dude, come on, bro.
I'm a 30-year-old.
Come on, dog. You're like right.
I already
there.
got spinal issues and out the wazoo.
Dog,
I'm getting old,
you're
bro.
30 with 30 flips though. 30 to 30.
30 for 30. That's the different 30 to 30 I was trying to get under earlier, but I'd rather be 30 flips.
I know. I agree. Well, if you're looking at your journey right now and you had to have a conversation with yourself, Aram, first day in the business, glasses and all, like no beard, no nothing, just straight up man-to-man conversation, having a cigar, what was the first thing that you would tell him?
Why don't you shut up?
You talk too much?
100%. You talk way too much, number one. Number two, you need to listen more. Shut up and listen, right? And ask for advice from people that have actually already done things. And when they give you the advice, don't think you know better, right? If I just asked better questions earlier on, I would not have struggled as much as I did, right? I had so much ego when I started, bro. I was like, where did I even get it? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Right? It was like false confidence purely based on ego, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm the best. You're not the best, buddy. Right. You're 21 years old. Your beard doesn't even connect. You know what I mean? First, I didn't even have a beard.
Yeah.
Maybe like a little silly little mustache, right? So I would say just listen more. Don't worry about the money. Find someone that's actively doing it, and then just copy paste, right? If I did that, I would have looked for investors. I would have found investors. And if I found me, I would have said, why are you being an agent if your goal is to be an investor? 1 + 1 = 2, and you're doing different math over here, right? You're doing division,
right?
Right? Stop that. So I was like, listen, go right into investing. And see, I thought I needed a lot of money. I was uneducated, right? So I'm like, I would have found an investor similar to me, right? We did everything for him. I would have made him a lot of money. I would have learned along the way. And then by like 23, 24, I'm investing on my own. I'm probably a multimillionaire by now. Because, I missed the whole 2020, 2021, 2022. Like, dude, if I had money back then,
that would have been fucking
makes
crazy,
me so angry.
I mean, I agree, because I didn't know anything that was like about the time when I entered the business, which was great.
It's the worst, worst and best time, right?
I mean, it's great for the loan officer side, because refis, all this shit.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot.
But I didn't close one fucking refi because I had no idea. Like, I wasn't, bro, you know, I closed maybe like 2, but I was 99.9% purchase, which, again, when you're getting into the business, right? All I did was put my head down, work as much as I possibly could. But you kind of look back, right?
Yeah.
One of the best pieces of advice, I'm a very big advocate for exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Listen to people that are, number one, older than you. Doesn't mean that they have wisdom, but a lot of times, sometimes when they're in the industry that you're in, if they haven't been a successful track record, listen to them and continue to grow. And my uncle's been in business for 20 years. He's has all the track records in the world for this business. And he first told me, because I'm like, I want to take over the world. I'm so fucking, all hyped.
Yeah.
And he's like, sometimes growing too fast will be the beginning of the end. Right? And it's like, okay, you start looking back, right? You think you're too big to fall, but then unfortunately you get to a certain point where if you didn't have these experiences right here, now you look in the future self, and you maybe have 30 flips, it all goes crumbling down, you lose all your houses, you bankrupt, all this shit. And that's where it's like you are in a position where you grew your business. You little by little, you grew it to the point where now you're scaling and you can help other individuals. But it's all because of the things that you did. There's no doubt in my mind you're gonna make $1 million, bro. That's just like
we on them.
As I'm saying, it's inevitable that you're gonna do it with time. And one thing that I've told myself every single morning is obviously that I try to manifest that. Like, I want to make $1 million. I want to do this. I kind of have the list of things that I want to do. But you take a step back in reality, you're 29 years old. Some people take 30, 40, 50 years to be able to do the things that you are currently doing. Yeah. And you got to appreciate that. And that's the one thing that I agree. I think that it's really hard to do when you're in the moment because you're hustle, grind, and going. But when you take a step back, you're like, holy fuck, I'm 29 years old. People have worked their entire life to make the amount of money that I'm making right now. And when you sit back and you appreciate that, first off, it probably motivates the fuck out of you. And number two, it makes you driven to keep going. And number three, it makes you realize that the journey just began. And that's something that I love to say every single, this is just the beginning of my journey. And I have, the sky's the limit. I'm going to keep taking off and growing till I can't even fucking see no more. But that being said, though, how did you get the idea to go into that whole residential side or the complex, the plazas and stuff like that? Oh, the
apartment buildings?
Not the apartment buildings. I mean, you bought that already, but now you want to get into commercial side where the whole, I think you said a plaza. Is that what you?
Yeah, retail center. I'm trying to get a little mini shopping center. So I'll tell you, this is actually piggybacking on what you said earlier. When you meet these super successful person, they're really not that special, right? Yeah. So this is the best money I ever spent, bro. I spent $10,000. Do you know Manny Koshman? Yeah. So I spent $10,000 to go to, because I watched him on YouTube, and I'm like, okay, any residential investor I've seen on YouTube is driving like a Lamborghini, right? Yeah. This dude has 3 Bugattis. Yeah. What is he doing
I want
that we don't know about, right? Because nobody has a coaching program for commercial real estate, right? Because that makes too much money, right? So I'm like, let me see what's going on here. So that got me into commercial. That's where I ended up having my 2 apartment buildings, right? But I was coming to this like a position. I'm like, okay, well, I just blew the bag on these 2 apartment buildings. Now I'm barely making any money on a month-to-month basis. Bro, after like pay off investors, I make $1,800 a month cash flow from these buildings. And you're like, that don't help me. Right. I got bills today. Right. I don't care about more appreciation in 10 fucking. I got bills today. Right. You know? So I thank God I still had some flips going on. I was like, this can't be the way. I can't see myself getting rich within the next 5 years holding this stupid building. It's not stupid. It's like, okay, it's worth 1.6 in like 10 years. How does that help me today? Right? Because I got bills today, like I said. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure out what this guy's doing because everyone I talk to says buy and hold forever, right? I'm like, that's great, but I'm doing the math in my head. Boilers got to be replaced, windows got to be replaced, roofs got to be replaced, got to tuck point the building, plumbing's old as shit. I'm like, this don't make sense. Yeah. But everyone's telling me buy and hold. I flew there. I spent $5,000 for day 1, $5,000 for day 2, right? I just have one question for the guy. Why do you sell everything, right? But I was talking to him, I'm like, he's just a regular guy. Yeah. No offense, but I'm taller than him. I got an inch or 2 on him, you know? I'm like, if you can do it, I can do it, right? And he has an accent. Yeah. I speak fluently most of the day, right? So I'm like, okay, once I saw that, I'm like, I know I'm capable of doing this because it's not that complicated. So that also, he does a lot of shopping centers and office buildings. I was like, okay, I'll do that next because residential is very safe. Like multifamily is a very safe asset class, right? But it's a lot more management. 100%. I'd rather just, because I'm making a lot of active income now, it makes a lot of sense for me to take on a little bit of a bigger risk and get a retail center because let's say I'd have to buy it like with $400,000 down, right? And if I have a vacancy, I got to pay those taxes. And the taxes on these could be $40,000, $50,000 a year, right? So I need to maybe sometimes float $10,000, $15,000 a month. Right. Fortunately, if I didn't have that capital, I'd be in pre-foreclosure right away.
Right.
So now that I feel like I'm making the active income, it makes a lot of sense for me to jump into the retail. So I'm selling my buildings because when I asked Manny Koshman, why on earth do you sell? I'm going to give you the quote by quote. He said, my first shopping center I ever sold for $1 million, 1.2, is worth $3 million today. He sold it back in the early 2000s. And then he looked at me, he paused. He said, one of my Bugattis is worth that. That's all I need to hear. For sale. Immediately for sale. But we weren't quite ready yet. So we had to raise some rents, right?
Yeah.
And then it's for sale now, right?
Right.
So what he's saying is when you're in the business of real estate versus investing are two different categories, right? So what I do, I'm not an investor. I am in the business of real estate. I find value-add opportunities. I make them better, and then I sell them to people. They're either primary residents who want to live in a perfectly remodeled house or an investor who has a lot of capital already. They just need to park it somewhere. Mm-hmm. That's who's buying my apartment building. Right? People who are happy making like 7 to 8% a year, but if you look at over a 5-year period, you're making 20% on their money, right? So that's kind of like how the game really is. So now I know I'm in the business side. Let's go bigger. Like the bigger the deal, the more money I make.
100%.
Like one retail center will pay me what 30 flips pay me or just one deal.
And commercial's a lot different because if it's really based upon the rental income that's coming in from the property. So the value is really based upon however much you're able to rent it for. So therefore, it probably is easier to get loans on it too once you have someone dumping in a bunch of money on a
That's so if you know what you're doing on the back where you put the right tenants in there, right? Because the bank's going to look at the tenants. If you have Joe's cleaners in there, they're thinking high risk because Joe could go out of business.
Right.
But if you have like a national accredited tenant, they're like, this is a safe bet.
Yeah.
They have a 15-year lease. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
Right. And like you said, because it's based on the income, it doesn't really sway what the market as much.
Right.
Right. So it's like a little bit less volatile if you know what you're doing. But
Right.
it's just a lot more meticulous. You got to be a little bit more patient. You can't just fill your vacancy just because you don't want to make your carrying costs. Right. Because the wrong tenant will cost you more. But the right tenant, with the right, landlord credits to renovate the place, can increase your value 20%. Right. So that's kind of like, that's what I like about it.
No, 100%. It's all a game, bro. And you start looking exactly what we've been talking about. As you look at these big time investors, there's this guy, I forgot his name. He's on YouTube too. He's a big YouTube. But I'm talking about this fat guy who owns a bunch of
Ben Mala.
Yep, Ben Mala.
I love
Ben Mala is the best.
That's another one that got me into it.
I fucking love him. He is great. He just freaking I just spent $2 million on this, complex. He's just like, we're gonna look at our next 5 deals, and it's just crazy to think like he's handling so much volume, so many things on a daily basis. Like, I'm gonna sell this, do this, and it makes the numbers and our business seem so small that it motivates me to be able to get to that level where you're handling things like that. But do you see yourself in the hotel space like that?
Hell no.
No, that's what he does. He does a bunch of hotel shit.
He's a better man than me.
Why?
I can't handle that, bro. I don't want to. It just seems like that's a whole business of its own. That's a hospitality business. That's not even investing in real estate, right? Yeah. That's like having a restaurant but owning the real estate that it's in. Right. I don't want to do that. Right. I'm trying to get away from just retail centers. I'm good with it. And to be honest, I don't know how ambitious I really am. If once I get to like actively making 1 or 2 a year, like do I really need more?
I agree. Yeah.
What the hell do I need, bro?
Yeah,
I have everything now, for God's sakes.
Right.
It's just a lot of stress for what? Now, the second I meet someone making 5, I'm back in the game, right? Or like someone making 5 says some slick comment. Now I got to come up to 5 so I can say the slick comment back. Right. I feel if you haven't accomplished anything, you should talk to people that have.
That's why I think a lot of people don't know that side. Like if you could channel the people's negative energy towards you or negative comments to be able to motivate you to become the best version of yourself or accomplish all the goals that person might have been saying, that's probably the best form of motivation that you can ever have because
100%. I'm petty, so you say something to me, I'm stuck for life.
I'm the same fucking way, bro. I still remember the motherfucking first grade telling me I couldn't do something, bro.
Hey, fuck that guy. Okay, I don't believe what he said.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. I mean, I think the last thing I kind of want to wrap everything up with is just really understanding next 5 years. What is your plan overall? What age do you kind of want to retire? Like, what does that look like for the future for yourself?
In regards to retirement, I would love to just die at work one day.
I love that shit.
I do not want to retire. Retirement leads to a faster death. Like, what's so fun about sitting around the house?
I love
the
that.
Fuck?
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to golf. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to work, chill, family, work, chill.
Yeah.
Right? So no retirement for me. I'll go till I die. And in regards to the next 5 years, every time I put a 5-year plan together, I find out some information that would just blows the whole thing up, right? So I'm sick and tired of 5-year plans. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I have a very broad idea of what I would like to happen, and then I'm working on the details.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you asked me just 2 years ago when I bought my first 2 apartment buildings, I'm like, okay, cool. Technically, I have unlimited money.
Yeah.
So I could just go find these amazing deals, raise the capital, buy them, fix them, and, like, be this big syndicator, right? Then I ran into the loan issue. So I'm like, well, God damn it.
Yeah.
You know, we need $400,000 down. I raised $600. They still won't give me a loan because I don't have any money.
Right.
Even though we have equity in these buildings, they don't care.
Right.
So that put the whole thing in the can, right?
Yeah.
And then I got into flipping, and I was only gonna do 10 flips, and I'm doing 30 flips. Like, I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning as I go. I'm winging this shit. Right.
Yeah.
So like maybe next year I'm sitting here, I'm like, 800 ain't so bad.
Yeah.
Like, what else do I need to do, right? But overall, the goal is to make a lot of active income, and then put it into a lot of passive assets, right? I'm not really focusing on the passive yet because I'm still dialed in on the active. I want to get the active like on autopilot where like I don't have to put in as much effort. I'm still making the same money. Right?
So active, how much are you planning on making versus passive? What is the ideal amount of money that you want to make passively?
Great question. So right now, actively this year, if all goes according to plan, I should make 800,000.
Nice.
Right. So at that, I can't even spend that kind of money. Like, I don't even know if I don't have money in my bank account at the end of this year. Somebody's stealing from me, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, I'll have a lot of liquid cash. I will have to buy real estate investments to save on taxes, right?
100%.
So that's kind of how you accidentally build a rental portfolio, right? So if every year I live on like 150, and then another 200 in like business expenses or something like that. But that's all recouped when I get to my 800, right? So really, I should have $400,000-$500,000 every year cash liquid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I spend money right
Couple
away.
Rolexes,
So I don't know.
You know,
Let's
like
say 400.
cars.
Let's say 400. I'm looking for a second car right now.
Yeah.
Let's say I get 400 left. I have to buy an asset with it, right? So I'm buying a $1.2 million building minimum every year, ideally for the next 5 years, right? And then 5 years from now, the equity and depreciation and everything, and the cash flow with all that, should give me a really nice safety net, right? So I'm always in a position of good, right? All my bills are paid for. I would say if I'm making $500,000 passively, I'm chilling. I can't see a world where that is not enough money for me,
100%.
right? Because that's untaxed money.
Right.
That's different. That's like $750.
Yeah.
You know.
No, seriously.
And then it will just keep building the active income until I get to a point where I'm like sick of it. Right?
Let me add, on a $1.2 million acquisition for a building, how much should you cash flow for that to make sense?
See, I don't know.
Yeah, that's why. Like, those are the numbers I like to hear, or even like flips, just to kind of know how to stomach risk. Like,
so I know I can tell you all the numbers on a flip. Okay. So the way I do it, I don't know what the right answer is on the multifamily side or the commercial like investment side. If I'm putting up 400,000, I gotta see at least 10% annually on my money on cash flow, right? And then I gotta see I'm value add still, right? So I gotta see that forced appreciation gain. That's really what I work in.
Right.
I gotta make 50% on my investment when it's all said and done, right? So if I'm buying it for 400,000, let's say it's a $1.2 million deal, right? I need to at some point see it being worth 1.4 plus. Otherwise, I don't do it.
Right.
So that's what allows me to refinance my money out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what that side would be. And then on the flip side, if anywhere between 15 to 20% ROI, your cash on cash return, I think you're chilling.
Yeah.
Now, the way I'll calculate it is like all these deals we have investors or we have hard money lenders or et cetera, right? But I always run my numbers. If I'm buying this all cash, what's my ROI, right? No carrying costs, just I'm buying it for 200, putting in 50. If I sell for 325, after closing costs and all that garbage, what am I left with? If that number is between 15 to 20%, you got yourself a good deal. Now, the next question is how much time is this going to take? Like, I'll do a 15% deal if it's a 3-month flip. I will not do a 20% ROI if it's a 7-month flip. I need 25 plus for that, right? So then you start juggling with time, effort, and capital, and then you decide what's worth your time, what's not worth your time, and it's a personal choice.
How did you figure out what was your time worth?
Trial and error. And also, like, I was a little bit always nervous, so I'm like, I want to be in and out of these houses so fast. In order for me to get in and out so fast, I have to do only cosmetic rehabs, so my construction is 6 weeks, right? Because I'm raising capital. I got 6 months to get this thing done. I don't have the luxury of sitting around for 7 months and not making money. Unacceptable.
Right.
So that's how I made that decision.
And then, is there like a calculation that you did, or you just like
napkin?
I fucking love it, bro.
I looked at what made me money, and I was like, okay, all these deals like seem to make sense at 20%, even when I add the hard money cost to it, right? I'm like, okay, cool. So 20% is really the benchmark. 15 I will do if it's like a quick 3-month process. Like, I know this is like, we don't even have, just replacing floors and cabinets, do it, right? But 15 is like on the low end.
Yeah.
I'm usually like, if I see 18 at 20, I'm ready to go, right? At 15, I have to sit down and evaluate a little bit more.
Right.
Or then I look at the scope of the work. If it's a $120,000 rehab budget, that's inherently going to take you 3 months, right? And in those 3 months, anything can happen.
Right.
Village shows up, you stop work, right? Or if you're pulling, permits, inspector doesn't want to show up, anything can happen.
Show up in 2 weeks.
Show up in 2 weeks, exactly. Open the drywall, you find problems you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Now you're updating plumbing.
Right.
You know, it's like, don't want to do all that shit.
Right.
So I do small scopes of work, in and out, 3 to 6 weeks.
Well, once and foremost, bro, I want to say first off, thank you so much for your time. I know
Of course,
it is valuable. I really do appreciate it. And this is for every single person that is watching this video. I want you guys to take it in and understand, okay? Both of us are both human. We got to where we're at by simply working hard, meeting the right people, networking, and that is where you're going to find your value in life, is consistently networking with the right people and being able to develop the right relationships, which will ultimately lead you to make the most amount of money. So again, bro, I really do appreciate your time. For anybody, do you have any closing remarks for anybody that's watching?
If you're interested in investing in real estate, just follow me on Instagram. If you don't know, Aram Realty.
There you go.
And other than that, that's pretty much it.
Quick plug. Thank you so much. Everybody that's watching, if you have not already, please make sure to like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications for all future videos. I appreciate you guys' time.